Yes, you've heard about policy fumbles and tumbles or somersaults in this country before. If you recall, when OBS Equisili was Minister of Education in this country, he said she was going to sell off the federal or unity schools. Well, that received a whole lot of punches from Nigerians, and so that fell on the ground flat. There had been many significant decisions taken by ministers without consultation, without inclusiveness, and they also fell flat. Not too long ago, a minister of education in this country, I'm trying to remember whether it's the current one or the immediate past one, either Tahir or Adamu. I'm trying to recall who precisely it was, who said that if you're not up to 18, you can't get admission to a higher institution. And again, Nigerians wore their boxing gloves and they punched it and gave it a knockout. Today, we're hearing something new. The federal government has officially pegged entry admission year into the nation's tertiary institutions at age 16. This came as the government warned that any admission conducted outside the central admission processing system would be illegal and perpetrators would be prosecuted. Well, I think the government does not simply want its nose to be cut so as not to have its face spiked. Now, let me say this. Post-war, post-civil war in this country, and even pre-civil war, we saw young people gaining admission at age 15. And I'm talking about over 50 years ago. If it today that the world has moved on, that we are seeing people in their teens even earning PhDs elsewhere, and we're still pegging, entry qualification at 16, meaning even if it is a day below that you can't gain admission, then we are still backward. And what I'm saying is clear for everyone to see. If you Google it, you get it. The fact remains that we have some very indigent students, some gifted children that are way beyond some persons who are even 25 when you talk about intelligence. And as a matter of fact, if such persons are so tested and proven to be good, I don't see why a 15-year-old cannot go to school. And today, as you and I speak, we have some 14, 15-year-olds who are looking bigger than some persons who are 20, older than their age, talking about physically and intelligence-wise, and being able to comport and assimilate properly into the academic environment. When this came up, as a matter of fact, I made a mistake earlier by mentioning Tahir, Maman Tahir. Actually, it's Alausa. And the previous one that I was also trying to mention, of course, was Adamu. That was, by the way, but in recent times, Alausa was the one who came up with it. And Nigerians said no. The world has moved on. But government does not want Nigerians to say, they have failed in its decision. And so they have come up again to say, after a meeting with policy stakeholders, they have come up with this. And that is the reason they keep whittling down, the admission score lines. From 200, it kept coming down. And today, whether it was fake or not, I'm seeing something far less. So how can we progress with this? As a matter of fact, you and I know, and let teachers and school proprietors come around, they can tell you some persons who are absolutely brilliant in their lower teen ages. But again, like you said, who can fight government, particularly governments of our clime? I tell you, a man or woman, and I mean parents who have children who are indigent enough at age lower than 16 and who have money, may just as well take their children elsewhere, take them abroad where
private schools.
Yes, where age is not considered. And I think the government again may need to have an exception to this rule. If it is proven, absolutely proven, that the child is good, I think the child can move on.
But quite frankly, I don't see a difference between 15 and 16.
At all.
If a child is brave, intelligent at 15, just one more year at home, with the way things are happening in Nigeria, if I'm in that situation, I'll take my daughter or son to go and learn a skill for that 1 year, after which he or she can now go to the university. For me, the difference between 15 and 16 is not much.
Well, it all boils down to, the place of the poor person in Nigeria. And I think when government is talking, they are probably talking about, the public, universities. Again, the government has come out to say that only Jamb can admit, and they call it the Central Admission Processing System, the CAPS, and that any school owner or proprietor, in this case university owners, who allow students to be admitted under that age would face prosecution. So they have also put a borderline, that you cannot cross if you own a school. But I see people sending their children abroad. Government may have to tinker with this again, maybe put an exception where people, let me tell you this. In 1977, those of us who were 12, 13 years old, we were the first set of primary 6 passing out of primary school. And in that same 1977, primary 7 at the time was the last set. And so those of us in primary 6, even though some of us were 12, some 13, joined primary 7 in that year, the first and the last, and we all wrote the same, school leaving certificate, wrote the same common entrance examination. And so today you have some generals who have retired in their early 50s, those who gained admission. And by the way, secondary school at the time was just 5 straight years. And we didn't have all these strikes and all that. So students then were passing out at the age of 16, 17, highest 18, except those who wanted education at that old age, they were still getting admitted into school. And so some went to the NDA, some went to the universities. We even have people who rose to become directors and they are still within their 50s because they went to school early. Back in the day, how could we say that 15 is too early, too young now, when things have changed? Well, government has spoken, but I think government goes and government comes.